How do I live about 10 minutes from Disney World in the Kissimmee, Orlando area for $150 a month? Now, I have my RV. I'm just talking about being able to stay with full hookups. Electricity, water, sewer is all included in the $150 a month, which is basically my membership dues for a membership that I bought through Thousand Trails about 4 years ago. And as I'm out walking my dog tonight, I got little Miss Roxy with me. We're out walking, and these are just some of the cutest little cottages that they have here that they rent out, and all the really cool palm trees. There's a lot of different varieties of palm trees. I'm from Florida. I was born in Key West, and I've only in the last couple of years really noticed, wow, there's like all kinds of varieties of palm trees. But we get out and walk around 3 or 4 times a day, and look at all the moss up in the trees. And if we're still on the video, when we get down to the little pond they have that has a couple alligators in it, you got to watch your dogs. They got a new deck that they built a couple years ago there. Just really beautiful. This is one of my favorite RV parks, and what I do is I bounce back and forth between 2 RV parks that are here in Kissimmee. Come here, baby girl. And with this membership, the trick is I can only stay 21 days at a park, and then I have to be out for 7 days before I can come back into that park, or I can just go 21 days here, 21 days there, etc., etc. Now, whoa, she's after the squirrel. No, come on. No, we're not catching squirrels. So there's a lot of controversy and back and forth about Thousand Trails, and people who love it and people who don't understand it, and people who've been asking me about Thousand Trails. And it's really confusing if you just look at their website to see the different types of memberships. There's some that are a few hundred, there's some that are a few thousand. But I actually bought the most expensive package they have. But within a year, it paid for itself. And now my dues, they're about $130 actually a month. I'd have to look at I think I pay like $1,400 a year, which breaks down to like $130 a month. And I can resell this membership when I'm done with it. So even though I paid several $1,000s for it, it paid for, because if you think about it, like look at this RV. Now, I don't have one of these with the concrete slab, although I have, depending on different times that I've come through here. But they've got different sections, and it's just beautiful. I love this park, and it's like a 10-minute walk down to some really cool entertainment places with Ferris wheels and stuff, which I don't necessarily ride, but it's fun to look at them, and man, do they light up at night. And you can hear the roller coasters and stuff. So if you're looking for being quiet, camping out in the woods, this is not your place. But if you're wanting to be in places, and Thousand Trails is all over the country, and I actually stayed at a Thousand Trails in Texas that was 2 hours north of Dallas, and I've never been so far out in the country before. I was 30 minutes from a Walmart. That's how I know how far I was. Come on, Rox. No. Hold on. My dog is obsessed with squirrels. It's the one thing that really lights her up. She is at attention and wanting to get that squirrel in the worst way. But as long as I've got it turned around, it's just a lovely, lovely, lovely RV resort here. Now, people will say things like, well, yeah, Cammie, but what about your internet? What about your cell phone? What about your food? What about your health insurance? Yeah. I'd have all that stuff whether I was in an RV or not. I'm talking about my base rent. Because my RV payment is like a car payment. And I got my motorcycle that I get around on. But I watch videos all the time, just like you do. If you're watching this video and you're still with me 5 minutes into it about how I live in this Orlando area for $150 a month, you probably watch a lot of videos about how to RV cheap, how much does it cost to RV, what kind of places can you stay for free. Look, I watch all those videos too. And I was just watching a video with a couple that was talking about Thousand Trails and different places that you can go for free. Look, it's got this big open area. I'm going to let her off the leash when I get off the video so she can go run a little bit. And it just inspired me because it's so beautiful here. I mean, the weather right now, I mean, you can see what I've got on. I'm, you know, basically a bathing suit top, little short shorts, little flip-flops, and very comfortable. And I just love this area. Now, there's a couple of Thousand Trails part of my membership down in the Keys. And one of the videos I was watching earlier today, this couple was talking about how expensive it is in the Keys, and it is. And with Thousand Trails, probably 95% of the RV resorts that are part of this membership are free. If you have the membership, you just go for free. And then there's about 5% of them, maybe 20 that I've seen over the years, that actually charge $20 a night to stay there. But they are in really top-notch places, including the Keys. So there are two of them down in the Keys. One of them is Fiesta Key, and one of them I think is Sunshine Key, I think, something like that. And so 2 years ago, September will make 2 years ago, when I first got Roxy, within 30 days, we drove down from Orlando down to the Keys to go down to Fantasy Fest, which is in October, which is a 10-day adult Halloween. And it was body paints and asses out, and it was a lot of fun. So on the way down, we stayed at a couple of these RV resorts that are part of the membership. And those places are like $150 a night, but we stayed for $20 a night. So we stayed 2 or 3 nights at one of them, and then went on down 30 more miles down the bridge, because you know it's bridges and islands all the way down to Key West, and stayed at another one for 2 or 3 nights for $20 a night instead of $150 or $200 a night. So I am in the camp of love me some Thousand Trails. And you know, you'll hear people complain about just about anything. For example, yesterday I saw an RV pull into a spot here. Now these are pretty much all palm trees here. But one spot here has got a pine tree that if you park underneath it, you will get sap on you. A couple years ago, I got sap on my rig. So I saw these folks pulled in there, and I just was walking by with my dog. They're sitting outside smoking cigarettes, and I just didn't even stop walking. I just said, hey, just FYI, keep an eye on the tar that'll drip out of the tree that you're under, because I was parked there a couple years ago, and just something to keep an eye on. And the guy said, are you part of Thousand Trails too? And I said, yeah, because not everybody here is. 90% of the people here are just paying the regular whatever fee. And I said, yeah. He said, they always give us the worst spots, don't they? And I was not even going to engage in that. I said, you know, I'm just telling you, there can be sap under that tree. And the wife said, well, we're only going to be here for 4 days anyway. As she's having her cigarette. And I said, well, 4 days is plenty of time to get sap on your RV. So there are people that will just look for anything to complain about. I'm not that person. I look for the good in everything because I love Thousand Trails. It's because of Thousand Trails that I've been able to travel this whole now they're not everywhere. They're usually right along the edge of it. Like if you look at the country, the little smile of going along the edge. Florida's got a lot, California, Texas, along the coast, etc. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on living in the Orlando area, 10 minutes from Disney, for less than $150 a month, all utilities included. And I got my hotspot, my cell phone. That's different. That's not a utility.